The body of Jesus found. Debunked. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachakwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And I wanted to do a video on this article here of European explorers who claim to have found the body of Jesus. So I'm going to start off by reading this article here. Body of Jesus found. European explorers discovered the body in the desert of western China along with a crowbar that anthropologists believe was used to pry him off the cross. The naturally mummified remains, dissected by the desert, it says, exude a faint bread-like aroma. So, anthropologists claim that the European explorers claim that they found a crowbar that anthropologists believe was used to pry him off the cross. So, apparently, he was still on the cross when his body was found. Well, now, first off, let's go over here to skeletonization. So this is the timeline right here in which it takes from when a person dies. How long does it take for a body to decompose before it becomes a skeleton? Okay. So here, right, it says, in a temperate climate, it usually requires 3 weeks to several years for a body to completely decompose into a skeleton. Now, when it says several years, we're talking maybe 2 years. It might take 2 years for a body to completely decompose into a skeleton. You know, it depends on several factors. Okay, you know, like it might be a baby. You know, if it's a newborn baby and the baby gets buried. Well, not a newborn baby, Salakia. If it's a baby and it gets buried in the ground, you know, it can take up to about maybe a year, maybe even 2 years for that baby's body to decompose into a skeleton. Now, if it's somebody who is fat, for an example, it could be a 400-pound person. It could take up to 5 years at most for that person's body to decompose into a skeleton. And that's after death. If a person might be 500 pounds, it could take up to 6 to 7 years for a person's body to completely decompose into a skeleton. You know, now if a person is old and skinny and he get buried into the ground, if a person is old and skinny and he dies and he gets buried into the ground, it can take up to, at most, maybe 3 years for his body to completely decompose into a skeleton. You know, if it's a man who's like in his 20s, a woman that's in her 20s, maybe even 30s, and that person die and that person gets buried in the ground, it can take up to, you know, 3 to 5 years for that person's body to completely decompose into a skeleton. Okay? So it says, in a temperate climate, it usually requires 3 weeks to several years for a body to completely decompose into a skeleton. Okay? So it says 3 weeks to several years for a body to completely decompose into a skeleton, depending on factors such as temperature, humidity, presence of insects, which when a person's body decomposes, okay, after a while, I would probably say after, I don't know, weeks, maybe after weeks, okay, worms or worms and maggots will start to come out of the person's corpse and will start to eat away at the person's flesh. Okay? And this has been known to happen. This even happens in animals. Okay? You know? And a matter of fact, I remember me and the brothers had first moved into the house, okay? And I believe it was a squirrel. There was a squirrel that had died inside of our house, right? And I would say after the squirrel died in our house, I would say maybe 2 weeks after the squirrel died, maggots started coming out of the squirrel's body. And the proof of that, because we live in a wooden house, so the maggots from the squirrel's dead body started crawling up through the cracks of the wooden floor. So it's the same thing with people, okay? So weeks after a person dies, okay? Weeks after a person dies, worms and maggots will start to come out of the person's corpse and will start to eat away at the person's flesh. Okay? So the presence of insects is actually correct. And it says, and submergence in a substrate such as water. Okay? It says in tropical climates, skeletonization can occur in weeks. Okay, while in tundras, skeletonization may take several years or may never occur if sub-zero temperatures persist. So like you might bury a corpse in sub-zero temperature to preserve it, you know. Okay? But come on, man. Come on, we're talking about Jerusalem, the land of Israel. Okay? Okay? It almost never reaches sub-zero temperatures in the land of Israel. But anyways, you know, I mean, come on, that's the land flowing with milk and honey. But okay, so we know that Yahushua died 2,000 years ago. Okay, 2,000 plus years ago. So here it is, you know, they find this man's body right here, right? And here it is. This man still got flesh on his body, you know. Now the holes in his hands, something tells me that somebody drilled holes in his hands, okay? Don't be fooled by the holes in his hands. Somebody drilled holes in his hands, okay? Whoever dug up this man's dead body must have drilled holes in his hands. Now, if we come over here, right? Let's go to Bing.com. And let's go to images. And let's type in you see it. Here we go. Egyptian mummies unwrapped. Okay. Now, because if you come over here, right, they say the naturally mummified remains dissected by the desert exude a bread-like aroma, right? Well, here's a picture of a real Egyptian who has been mummified, okay? And as you can see, this dude is all bones, okay? Okay, you can see the skeletal frame right there. Okay, I don't see any flesh on this guy. I see skeletons though. Okay, skeletons. You know, this dude is all bones, man. Okay, this dude is all bones. Okay, here's another one from Pinterest. Okay, 61 best bog bodies images on Pinterest. Bog body. Okay, let's go back here. So that's a real body that has been unwrapped from Egypt. Here's another one. Okay, look at this. I think this is a much bigger picture. Okay. Okay, check this one out. Okay. Mizum mummy. Okay, look at this. All skulls. I don't see any flesh on this guy. I don't even see a beard. Okay. 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 No flesh, just all bones. Okay. These are real people who have been mummified. Okay. Okay. The art of mummification. Okay. Look at this. You could tell that's an Egyptian. Look at his facial structure. That's a Hamite. Okay. Look at that. Bones. Now, we know that Yahushua died 2,000 years ago, right? So that's been debunked. Furthermore, if we come over here to the book of John, chapter 11, verse 38, it says this: And Yahushua therefore again groaning in himself cometh to the grave, right? It was a cave, and a stone laid upon it. And Yahushua said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of Lazarus, him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. So here it is. He's been dead for 4 days, and his body already started decomposing. This was 4 days. So Lazarus' body had already started decomposing after he'd been dead for 4 days. So how is it that this so-called proclaimed Jesus has been dead for over 2,000 years, and somehow he still got a beard, he got a goatee, you can still see the mustache on this guy, you know, you can still see this man's hair. This look like a dead body that has been recently dug up, and they just decided to drill holes in his hands and say, Behold, guys, the body of Jesus found. Da 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 da. Come on, son. You can fool the average Joe with that, but you're not going to fool the elect. Okay? It's been more than 2,000 years, and you mean telling me this dude still got a goatee, a mustache? Come on, man. Anyways, let's go to the book of John, chapter 19, verse 36. Okay? And I'm going to just do this. Okay? John chapter 19, verse 36. It says, For these things were, now this is going into after Yahushua was, beaten. He was brutally, beaten, beyond recognition. His bones were pulled out of joint. His body was all bloodied up, man. He had bruises, sores, cuts all over his body. His face was beaten beyond recognition. He had fractured ribs, broken bones, okay? and ultimately he was nailed to the cross. So after suffering 3 hours of excruciating pain, he yielded up the ghost, and there was a great earthquake around that hour. And around that time, many Israelites that slept in the graves arose from their graves and went into the city of Jerusalem. Okay, so after that time, this is going into when his body was taken off the cross. So John chapter 19 verse 36, it says, "For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled. A bone of him shall not be broken." Okay. It says, and again another scripture saith, "They shall look on him whom they pierced." And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Yahushua, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Yahushua, and Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Yahushua. And there came also Nicodemus, which at the first came to Yahushua by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight. Then they took the body of Yahushua and wound it in linen clothes with spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. And there laid they Yahushua, therefore, because of the Jews' preparations day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. So Yahushua's body was laid in a sepulchre. So what do they mean by they found this man on a cross, and a crowbar was used to pry him off the cross? Okay, first off, 2,000 plus years ago, Yahushua was taken off the cross. Okay, I just read it in John the 19th chapter. Okay, a man who went by the name of Joseph took Yahushua off the cross and set him in a sepulcher where man was never laid at. I just read it right there. So what are you talking about? Here it is, 2,000 years later, and they still find the body of Jesus on the cross, and they had to use a crowbar to take him off the cross? Come on, man. This shit don't make any sense. Nah, 2,000 years ago, Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, okay, he was taken off the cross by a man who went by the name of Joseph, and Joseph set Yahushua in a sepulcher where man was never laid at. Okay, so Yahushua was taken off the cross 2,000 plus years ago. Okay, now let's go to the book of Matthew. Okay, chapter 24, verse 23. Matthew chapter 24, verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or Lo, here is the anointed, or there, believe it not. Well, here you go. Here come these self-proclaimed European explorers saying, Lo, here's the anointed. We found him after 2,000 years. Only a fucking idiot will believe this shit. Yeah, I don't care about harsh language. You gotta be a real dumbass to believe this shit. If you believe this is who the world calls Jesus, you're a real idiot. Okay? You a real idiot. Furthermore, if we go to the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 7, well, I'm going to just start up. Well, no. I'm right here. If we go to the book of Acts, right? I'm just going to read it. Acts chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "And he said unto them," Yahushua said unto his disciples, "It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father had put in his own power." But it says, "But ye shall receive power after that the Holy Ghost is come upon you. And ye shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem," Yerushalayim, which Yerah is Hebrew for city, Shalom or Shalom is Hebrew for peace, city of peace. Okay, Yerushalayim. Okay, "And ye shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem," Yerushalayim, "and in all Judea," which Judea is another word for Judah, "and in Samaria, and unto the uttermost part of the earth." And when Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, had spoken these things while they yet beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. So what is this cloud talking about? Well, let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 104, and I'll just start at 2. Okay, it says, the book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 2, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain." Verse 3, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. So we know that the cloud in Acts chapter 1 verse 9 is talking about a chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. So who maketh the clouds his chariot. Now let's go back to the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 9. Okay, it says, "And when Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, had spoken these things while they yet beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud," a what? A chariot. Okay, a chariot is what the world calls okay. A chariot would be what the world calls a UFO. Okay. Okay, the chariots of the Lord is what the world calls UFOs. So Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, was beamed up into what the world calls a UFO. Okay, so it says, "And when Yahushua had spoken these things while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud, a chariot, what the world calls a UFO, received him out of their sight." Okay, so we know that according to the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 9, who the world calls Jesus was never buried. Okay, he was never buried in the ground. We know that according to the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 9, who the world calls Jesus was never buried in the ground. He was taken up into what the world calls a UFO. Who the world calls Jesus, his true name is Yahushua. He was beamed up into what the world calls a UFO. So finding the body of who the world calls Jesus would be impossible, because he was never buried in the earth. Okay, it says, "And while Yahushua's disciples looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up into what the world calls a UFO, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel." Okay, and those 2 men were angels. Okay, because the angels, they travel around in what the world calls UFOs. Okay, and the angels, they are dark-skinned men with woolly hair, as it tells you in the book of Ezekiel, I believe the 1st chapter. So the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 11, which so the angels, which also said, "Ye men of Galilee, While stand ye gazing up into heaven, this same Yahushai, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall also come in like manner, as ye have seen him go into heaven. So Yahushai left in what the world calls a UFO. Guess what? He's coming back in what the world calls a UFO. The proof of that is the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7. Just love how this lesson is going beautifully. Okay, and I'm just going to click on this. Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he, who's the he? The he is talking about who the world calls Yahushai. The proof of that is up here. Okay, the Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. The revelation of Yahushai Hamashiach. Now, the word revelation means to reveal. In a matter of fact, the word revelation is an extended word of the word reveal. So the word revelation means to reveal. So it says the revealing of Yahushai Hamashiach, which Yahweh the Heavenly Father gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. So the book of Revelation is going into the revealing of Yahushai, and not only the revealing of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, but what he also looks like as well. So Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he, Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, cometh with clouds. So he's coming with clouds. Now remember the book of Psalms 104, verse 3. Who maketh the clouds his chariots. So Yahushai, when he come back, he's coming back with chariots, who the world ignorantly calls UFOs. And guess what? He's coming back in what the world calls a UFO. Except he's going to be in the most biggest so-called UFO there is. Okay? He's going to be in the most biggest so-called UFO there is. Okay? So it says, behold, he, Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, cometh with clouds, with so-called UFOs. And every eye shall see him, because when Yahushua returns, it's going to be broadcasted all over the news worldwide. Okay? Because everybody is going to know that he's coming back. Okay? People's going to have cell phones. They're going to be recording they're going to be recording his so-called UFO with their cell phones. People's going to be live streaming it. Oh my God! What is that? What is that? Oh my God! They're going to be terrified, but amazed at the same time at how gigantic his so-called UFO is going to be. So every eye is going to see him. Everybody's going to know about the return of Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, when Yahushua comes back and what the world calls a UFO. And they also, which pierced him, reincarnation. The same people who pierced Yahushua 2,000 plus years ago, guess what? They're going to see him in this generation. And the Lord is going to make sure their asses stay alive. So just so they can see Yahushua return. And so Yahushua can put their ass in slavery and whip the shit out of them too for what they did to him 2,000 plus years ago. So Yahushua can also whip the shit out of them. So Yahushua can whip the shit out of them for what they did to him 2,000 plus years ago. And all kindreds of the air and all kindreds of the air, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. Okay? And wail means what? Panic, scream, run. That's what it means to wail. The word wail means to panic, scream, and run. People's going to be running. Okay? It's going to be, and I'm talking about, it's going to be stampedes of people. It's going to be stampedes of people running, screaming, hollering, panicking, peeing, shitting on themselves, jumping over each other, running each other over? Why? Because when Yahushua returns, they're going to mistake his return for an alien invasion. Now let's skip down to verse 13. Okay? The revealing of Yahushua, according to the book of Revelation 1 verse 1. The revealing of Yahushua and what he truly looks like according to the Holy Scriptures. Revelation chapter 1 verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay? So, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Okay? So let's you know, I love doing this. Let's get let's just, man, let me see, how am I gonna, let's just click on File Explorer. Let's get a good picture of Yahushua. Let's go to pictures. Give it some time here. Okay, Yahushua. Okay, clothed. Let's see. This is beautiful. Okay. Yeah, let's open up this picture instead. Alright. I'll go ahead and wait for it to open. Salakia, man. This laptop wants to play, wants to be retarded today. Yes. Just a moment. Satan is, you know, at work right now. See, Satan don't want this information to come out. But guess what? It's still going to come out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay, look at that. The real image of Yahushua Hamashiach according to the Bible. And what do you see right here? Revelation chapter 1 verse 13 to 15 and Daniel chapter 10 verse 5 to 6. For those who want to say, well, no, man, his feet was dirty. Okay, well, let's go to the book of Daniel chapter 10 verse 5, because Daniel also described who the world calls Jesus before Yahushua came on the scene. Okay, so it's Revelation chapter 1 verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man. The Son of Man will be who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahushua. And he was clothed with a garment down to the foot. Okay, what do you see right here? Clothed with a garment down to the foot. Okay, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. He had on the golden girdle. A golden girdle will be like a warrior's belt. Okay, like you might watch WWE, right? What is a wrestler's prize for winning a wrestling match? He's given a wrestling belt, right? Well, whether if you believe it or not, a wrestling belt is actually a girdle. Okay, and what do you see? What do you see around this man's waist right here? You see a golden girdle. Okay, so he had a golden girdle on, as you see right there. Oh, my bad. Okay, he had on a golden girdle. Okay, it said his head and his hairs. Okay, meaning the hair on his head and the hair on his face were white and was like wool. So his head and his hairs were white like wool. Okay, so who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, he had white woolly hair and he had white woolly facial hair. Okay, white woolly hair, and white woolly facial hair. As you see right there. Okay? His head and his hairs were white like wool. Who has woolly hair? So-called Negroes do. Okay? As white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. Why? Well, why was his eyes as a flame of fire? Well, let's go to the book of Genesis. Chapter 49, verse 9. Okay, and I'm going to just do this. Hit Central F and type in law. Okay. So, I'll go ahead and close this out. Genesis chapter 49, verse 12. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. Okay. Shiloh is another word for peace. How do you say peace in the Hebrew? Shalom, which was who? King Solomon's name. Which through the Spirit we know that King Solomon is Yahushua in the reincarnation. So we know that Shiloh is talking about who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Because when Solomon died, he came back in the reincarnation as who? Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay, he that have ears to hear, let him hear. So it says the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, until Yahushua come, and until him shall be the gathering of the people, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. Because when Yahushua came on the scene, then didn't he not tell his disciples to go and get him an ass? Which another word for an ass is a donkey, right? So Yahushua fulfilled that prophecy when he sat upon the donkey, and he told his disciples to go tell the people in the city, behold, thy king come humble, sitting upon the foal of an ass. So Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, he fulfilled this prophecy when he sat upon that donkey. Okay, so binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Now here comes the key point. His eyes shall be red with wine. Now you know why his eyes was as the flames of fire, meaning his eyes were red. Why was his eyes red? Because the scriptures tell you he was a wine bibber. Okay, the scriptures tell you he was a wine bibber. Okay, he loved drinking wine. You see? So his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Woo! Let's go. Yahushua. So back in Revelation chapter 1 verse 14, it says, Revelation chapter 1 verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool. So Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, had white woolly hair on his head, and he had white woolly facial hair, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass. Now your feet is going to be the same color as your whole body. And his feet like unto fine brass. What color is brass? Well, let's type it in. Let's type in. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, let's see. The color of brass. The color of brass. Okay. That right there is not the color of brass. That is actually a silver color. Okay. This is the color of brass. Brass is a brownish color. Okay. Say it says brass flat rectangle bar. What color is that? That's brown. Okay, that's a brownish color. You can clearly see that is clearly a brownish color. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this out and see if I can find something else. Okay, pennies. Pennies is the color of brass. What color is that? That's a brownish color. Okay. Here you go. More images on pennies. So brass is a brownish color. Okay, this is copper. This is brass. Okay. Brass is a brownish color. Okay, bronze. Okay. Okay, you ever heard of the term brass knuckles? Well, here you go. Brown, okay? Brownish color. Brass knuckles. They're not called brass knuckles for no reason. What color is bronze? Bam! There you go. Brown. What color is that? What color is that? So his feet was likened unto fine brass, right? Now check this out. Remember, your feet is going to be the same color as your whole body. And his feet likened to fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace. So what happens if you take brass and you burn it in the furnace? It's going to come out a very dark brownish color. Well, here you go. This is a very dark brownish color right here. Okay? So this is the true image of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. And that's according to Revelation chapter 1 verse 13 all the way down to 15. And his voice as the sound of many waters. Because back in the ancient world, so-called Negroes had deep voices. Okay? Which so-called black people have deep voices. Okay? So his voice was as the sound of many waters. Now, let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 5. Because Daniel also described who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay? So Daniel, chapter 10, verse 5. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. Okay? Again, girdle of fine gold of Uphaz. Okay, his loins was girded with fine gold of Uphaz. There you go. Okay? Verse 6. Okay? It says, his body was also like the beryl. Okay? So let's type in B-E-R-Y-L. Beryl color. Okay? Here you go. Beryl is a greenish color. Okay? This is a beryl gem. Diamond, garnet. Okay? This is a beryl right here. A beryl is a greenish color. Okay? Okay? Beryl color. This is beryl according to the Bible. Okay? Beryl color according to the Bible. Okay? Bam! Look at that beryl. Okay? So his, okay? And that's the color of his garment right there. Okay? You see that? His garment is green. So his body was like the beryl. Okay? He had on a green garment. Okay, meaning, origin, and history of the name beryl. There you go. Okay. So it says, his body was also like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning. And why is that? Because the scriptures tell you that wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. Okay. Also, it tells you in the book of Proverbs that wisdom is likened unto hidden treasures. that when he lay hold on it, he hold it firm. Okay. So his face was as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire. Right. His eyes were as the lamps of fire, meaning his eyes were red because he was a wine bibber. When you drink a lot of wine, because wine contains alcohol, correct? So when you drink a lot of wine, your eyes start to turn red. So his eyes were as his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet. Okay, his arms and his feet. Now it says his arms and his feet, right? So what you gonna say now? No, that can't be right, man. He must have been rolling around in dirt. Come on, son. You Edomites, you're hurt, you're losing, and your time is up, man. Okay? So I'm gonna read it again. It says, and his arms and his feet like in color. Like in color. And what? What? It said color? Yeah, it just said color. Yeah, remember in the early 19th century? Remember in the early 1900s? What did you Edomites, you so-called white people, what did you Edomites, you so-called white people, used to call us? Didn't y'all used to call us color folks? Used to call us colored folks? Colored people? So Daniel is describing Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, right? It says that this is how Daniel is describing Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay? It says, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. Come on, man. You can't get around that. And what color is brass? Brass is a brownish color. And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude, right? Like it tells you in Revelation. And his voice was like and his voice was the sound of many waters, because multitudes of people is also likened unto waters in the Bible. So here Daniel says the words of his. So here Daniel is describing the voice of Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, as being the voice of a multitude. Because again, so-called black people have deep voices. Okay, so this right here. This has been debunked. Me show this fake ass image. But you know what this guy looked like? I'll show you what this guy looked like. Let me see. Let's go to Google real quick. I'll show you what this guy looked like right here. You see, now they don't want to show the video no more. Now that it's being debunked, okay. But hold on though, I'm gonna show you what this guy looked like. Okay, now get a good look at this guy's face right here. Okay, I'll show you what this guy looked like. Yeah, you're gonna get a kick out of this one. See, and sincerity
lesson will be entitled "Body of Jesus Found." Source: America's Best Picks.
Cast.
You can see.
All right, let's see.
Discovered the body.
And look,
along with
Nicolas Cage. Okay. Come on. Hold on. This is gonna get good. Hold on. Con Air.
Mummified remains.
Nicolas Cage.
Desiccated body desert exude
Okay.
a faint bread-like aroma.
Yo, that's exactly who he looked like. Look. Yo. Oh, that's great. Hold on, no. Go back. Yo, he looked just like Nicolas Cage. That's great. Yo. Here's another shot of him. Yo, he looked just like Nicolas Cage. Oh shit. Here's another picture. He looked just like Nicolas Cage, man. Hey, with that, I'm gonna say Shalom. It's on to the next one.